G'day, how you going? It's Brad Shepherd here from Create PT Wealth, and here today with another one of our Create PT Wealth internship webinars. And today's topic is what we call asking great questions in the sales process. Now, I call it ask great questions in the sales process. However, I would actually say it's in most parts of your business that you need to develop this skill. This particular skill in questioning and understanding people is such a critical part in terms of the success of your business, in terms of you strengthening your ability to sell, but then also your ability to develop relationships with joint alliance partners, to create joint ventures, to negotiate in your business, so many different ways where this can actually become a part of it. And really, I would say in many ways this becomes the key to success. You know, the stronger your ability to communicate and get your message out there, the better your ability to have a successful business is, and that will transcend across your whole business. So first of all, I'm going to start off with a little bit of info that some of you may have seen before. However, the reason I'm rehearsing this is that I feel it's definitely important information that we should never neglect, no matter how long you've been in the industry for. So many people out there still not a huge fan of sales, and for many people, you know, sales can conjure up this type of image, and you know, this whole thing of the slippery, slithery sort of, you know, conniving type of individual trying to get somebody into doing something that they might not have really been a fan of. For most of you, you probably don't fit that image on the screen. And for most of you, this word probably fits pretty well, and that's providing a solution to people's problems, because that's what we do. We are a solution provider. However, to get to that point, we need to really find out what people's problems are. And we aren't going to be able to find out what people's problems are unless we get to the point of asking great questions. So when someone does business with you, the very first thing that they do is they buy into you. And when I say you, what I talk about is the way that you conduct yourself, right down to the way that you answer your telephone, the way that you promptly respond to an inquiry or an email, the way that you communicate with somebody, everything that's happening in that first part of the relationship. People are making an analysis on whether you'd be the right person to do business with. And a great way to see that for yourself is just to have a look at any time you've purchased something that you might consider significant in a way. It might hold significant value to you in terms of price, in terms of what you invested in it, and just have a look at the way the person on the other end related to you. I've constantly got my radar on in terms of making purchases, in terms of buying things, and you know, because I'm such a fan of the sales process, I just love watching the way people work and the way people do business. Now, more often than not, that does come from my end as a bit of a critique, which my wife will often have a bit of a giggle about. However, really what you're looking for is that people are buying into you and everything that you stand for. The next thing that they'll be buying is the benefits of what you can offer them. And this is the thing that you need to be jamming down people's throat, is the benefits of what happens from doing business with you. Of course, reputation and proof, we can't overemphasize that enough, that you need to be collecting glowing testimonials, and many of you will be familiar with how to collect a great testimonial, and no doubt as being part of this program, you've got those testimonials peppered all over your marketing material, all over your website, on your business cards, and all the critical places, including your sales document that you would deliver to somebody when they first sign up with you. And then finally, what they'll buy is your product. Now, it would probably be nice just if every client just rocked up and signed on the dotted line, but it doesn't always happen that way. And you will have a small percentage of people that will fall into that category. However, for most people, you're going to need to spend some time, some effort, some energy. You're going to need to invest in building this relationship, and that's where this relationship model of selling comes about that you can see on the screen. The first 40% of this is all about just building trust. So you need to be, people will do business with those that they know, that they like, and they trust. And so you need to get people to know you. You want to get people to like you, and then finally you want to get people to trust you. And that's such an important part of the process. 40%, quite a large part of the sales process. So like I said, it would be nice for someone to just rock up to your business and sign on the dotted line, but it doesn't always happen that way because you need to build some type of credibility and some type of trust. The next thing that you need to do is you need to put your detective hat on, and that's the next 30% in terms of finding out what it is someone really wants. What is it that really makes that person tick? What are some of their fears, concerns, frustrations? What is it that's really having this person take some action today in a positive way? Next thing that you need to do is present your solution to it. So you'll see that already, if I just take a backward step, already I've gone through 70% of my sales process, 70% of it related to just finding out as much as I can, related to asking great questions, related to exploring as much as I can. So you need to find out what people really want. And then you get an opportunity to present your product, and that's where you discuss the price, that's where you discuss the terms and conditions, that's where you discuss your guarantee, your cancellation policy, and so forth. And then finally, of course, the last 10% is you need to confirm that people are happy. You want to make sure that they're excited and they're looking forward to moving ahead with you, and that's at that particular point in time is when you get confirmation on the sale, where you get to shake hands with the new person you'll be doing business with, and you have the opportunity to pull out the paperwork and get that part of it signed too. And that is just another important part in the process, because it's just helping people along one step at a time in taking action along the right way. No doubt many of you have stuffed up a sale before, and I'm just going to run through some of these because they can present themselves. I noticed, myself in educating myself in the sales process, plus educating my team, even after being a personal trainer for 17 years and having conversations with people, I still need to check in on many of these important things. Need to make sure that you don't talk too much, and that you definitely shut up and listen. You need to be doing that around about a ratio of 2 to 1. So in a sales process, you want to be listening about twice as much as you're speaking. If you find yourself speaking a lot, then it's definitely my advice that you need to get some solutions and some strategies on your questioning, which would enable you to not talk as much, and that's what today's workshop is all about. The next thing is if you're rocking up there seeing your prospect with dollar signs on their head, so if you're rocking up there and seeing this person with a dollar value attached to them, then there's a good chance that might influence the way that you behave or the way that your message comes across. Now, it would be fair to say that, for many of you, the gaining of income, the gaining of revenue is going to be essential to your business. It's how business works. So just so I can make a differentiation, I can turn up to a new sales appointment wanting to do business with this person because I genuinely want to help this person. I want to see this person succeed. I want to be part of helping them change their life. And at the same time, I want to contribute to my mission, and that's getting paid what I'm worth. And so it's a different psychology to me just turning up there and really seeing that person with a dollar sign. Next thing is talking logic and features, so you need to be talking emotion and benefits. Now, the opposite of logic, of course, is the emotional component. And again, the questions that we speak about today are going to have a strong connection with the emotional side of it. So we're going to get into the questioning methods and draw out the emotional side. Unless we explore what people's problems, what their fears are, what their frustrations, then many times you might struggle for people to actually see the value in it. On the flip side, you can talk features all day, of course, and most of you will be familiar with some of the basic features of being a trainer. We've got kettlebells, boxing bags, and battle ropes, and probably nobody, actually, your future prospective clients probably do not care at all about that. But what they do care about is how you can transform their body and, for many of them, their life. The next one, going into sales overdrive when faced with an objection. So, I start to get some type of person who's questioning, giving me some of the classic one-liners. I need to think about it, or it costs too much, I can't afford it. And that can be the time when you go into sales overdrive and just try harder to make the sale. Those of you who have been in that situation before, no doubt you can reflect back on it, and as a time when you might have struggled to get that sale if you're in that zone and in that state. And leading on from that one, in many ways connected, not learning to be relaxed when you need to be. Because if you're faced with an objection and there's a chance that somebody might walk away and the sale's not made, well, there's a chance that might not make you very relaxed. You might start to get a bit wound up. Your heart rate might start to increase. You might find it to be a challenging time. And on the flip side, you need to remove yourself from that particular small instance that you're in. It's one client, it's one sales appointment. You need to have a think about the big picture and how can you learn from that instance. If you're finding yourself, having the same pattern develop over a few times, i.e. if you're struggling in a few instances, then it's worthwhile just having a look at the whole process and saying what's going on at the moment. And maybe there is an opportunity to be more relaxed. Next thing is the fear of loss can make some people nervous. And if you see your person, for want of a better word, slipping away, if you see them losing interest or being non-committal, there's a chance that you might become nervous yourself and start to forget some of the key points that you need to pass on to that person to help get them over the line. Not asking for the sale is a critical one, and most of you who have been on our program and been exposed to our methods, no doubt by now would be attuned with that. So you need to be asking for the sale. Some people will do business with you, some people won't, and my saying I like to say is, so what? That's not going to change my life. Sure, I would love to do business with people, but some will, some won't, and I say, so what? Finally, not following up. So if you're not following up with somebody, and there's a good chance you might be letting money just walk out the door. And in all of our businesses, no doubt we've got what we call hidden money. It's money that we have not been familiar with the fact that it's been sitting there, and so really you need to be following up with somebody. And the strength of that is you need to have a database, you need to be communicating with people, and you need to be sending out your message consistently. So what we move into now is the part of the presentation where we have a look at some of these great types and different methods of questions. And we call it asking great questions. So the person asking the questions has the control basically of the conversation. And really the questions that you have, you want them to hit the mark each time. So you want to make sure that you're getting people engaged, you're getting people to open up, and you can understand as much as you can. Because remember, when we go back to that original point, the original part that we discussed for our workshop, in that, being a solution provider, you need to provide solutions to people's problems. But to get to that point, well, first of all, you're going to have to find out what these problems are. And if your questions aren't hitting the mark, there's a chance you might not find out what these problems are. So there are 6 basic question types in the sales process, and I'm going to run you through these different types of questions. Number 1, we've got questions called close questions, and as I read some of these out, some of you might be familiar with some of these definitions and terminology. Next one, we have what we call open-ended questions. The third one we have is called alternative choice questions. The fourth one we have is called Tiedown Questions. The fifth one we have is called Throwback Questions. And then number 6 we have is budget questions, i.e. questions on budget. So what I'd like to do is go through these 6 examples and give you a few different strategies on how you can incorporate these into your process. And like I said at the beginning of this presentation, the sales process is what we'll be focusing on today, but you'll be able to see a connection on how these can transfer to many different parts of your business. So let's have a look at close questions. Now, these questions will usually be answered with a yes or no. So, only ask these questions if you know the answer, or it is irrelevant or can lead you to an open-ended question. So to explain that, here's a few examples for you. So first of all, my classic one is when I'm going through the sales process, I've had an inquiry. One of the first questions I would ask somebody is how they find out about us, so we can track and measure our marketing. But I would say, have you ever worked out with a personal trainer before? And that typically requires a yes or no answer. So if someone answers no, then for me it's that's it. It's end of sentence. The next question I'd probably ask if that person said no would be, have you ever been a member of a gym before? And if they said no, then my next question would be, have you, are you engaged in some type of formal exercise or formal activity? If we have a look at the total flip side of that, and if the person's response would be yes, so I would say, have you ever worked out with a personal trainer before? And the person's answer would be yes. Well, then that just opens me up to a huge number of questions that I can find out about that person, which really takes us into the next point, being open-ended questions. So here's a definition on your open-ended questions. So these questions typically start with how, what, when, why, tell me about, etc. So they create a bit of a discussion. So if someone was to say to me, that they've worked out with a trainer before, so I'd first of all start by asking a closed question. And the person I'd say, have you worked out with a trainer before? They would say yes. Then my opening-ended question that would follow that would be, can you tell me about your experience with your previous PT? Can you tell me about the things that you enjoyed with that particular trainer? Can you tell me a bit about the way that you trained? Was it, did you train us several times per week? Was it half-hour sessions, 45-minute sessions, 1-hour sessions? Do you mind if I ask what you invested in those particular sessions, or what you were paying for them, etc., etc.? So we have a huge number of open-ended questions that can really provide a platform for you to get a greater understanding about somebody. That first point there, first bullet point, how do you picture the perfect trading week? Again, what I ask people to do is, I say, look, if you could wave the magic wand, could you tell me how you picture this happening? How many times a week do you see yourself working out with a trainer? So I've really, at that point in time, I'm controlling the conversation. I've put the ball in that person's court. I've enabled them to give me some type of response. More often than not, what you'll find is people, start to sell themselves into your training program, because, in their head they've probably conjured up an idea on what this thing looks like. It might be twice a week, it might be 3 times a week, and really from there it's up to you to start working your magic in terms of a solution to helping them get what they want. And that last point there, what has held you back in the past from achieving these goals? So, someone's telling me that they've worked out with the trainer before, and they've worked out with the trainers for a couple of years. However, they haven't been achieving the goals. Well, that'd be the type of questions I'll be wanting to ask. So can you tell me what's held you back from getting the goals that you're after with your previous trainers? And, it's not so much about trying to just pick all the bad points in what happened. It's you trying to get a clear understanding and a clear education on how you can best serve that person. Of course, some people will give you the signs on what they did or didn't like, and so that would be a pretty smart move to take those on board with you. Next one we call alternative choice questions. So alternative choice questions are a very powerful questioning technique. The answer becomes a minor agreement to a major decision, and the prospect confirms their intention to go ahead with the purchase. So one of ours that's an alternative choice question. So we pretty much, what we want to do is get some level of commitment from somebody. So many of you have seen one of the sales processes that we use when we run through our personal training options. And we get to the end of it, and there's 2 options for people. Option A is for them to pay the larger upfront fees, or option B is for them to pay via direct debit and for them to pay as they go. So the question I like to ask is, do you usually like to pay the larger upfront fees, or do you simply just prefer to pay as you go? Now, 85% of our clients use our direct debit system, and 85% of our clients just prefer to pay as you go. But you see, we've given the person two types of choices there. It's not a matter of are you going to do this program or are you not going to do this program. What it is we're basically giving, it's the yes or yes close. It's either yes, you're going to pay their upfront fees, or yes, you're going to pay as you go. And you know, like the definition says, the answer becomes a minor agreement to a major decision. So it's taken that person one step closer to that commitment. Next part, you know, would you like to start training next Monday or next Wednesday at 5 p.m. So if I was to get to that particular alternative choice question, before I got there I would have done a lot of questioning and a lot of exploring. I would have found out that the person suggested to me that their best days are Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. and what they're looking for is a combination of any of those two. They're going to train twice a week, so they're either going to train Monday and Wednesday, or Monday and Friday, or Wednesday and Friday. So once I've figured that out and I know that we can actually service that person at those times, my question will be to them, look, we can get you started either next Monday or next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Which one of those would you prefer? And again, what it's doing is confirming that person's intention to get started. Another one, as part of the payment process, we've got two options of payment. The first one being straight from your bank account, or alternatively you can pay with a credit card. With a credit card, it does incur the merchant fee, which is 1.6 for Visa, 3.5 for Amex. Some of our clients do like to pay with credit because they do get the points and so forth. However, the option's totally yours. On the flip side, paying straight from the bank account doesn't incur any merchant fees. So which one works best for you? Would you rather pay straight from the account, or would you rather pay with a credit card? Again, another example of what we call the yes or yes close, or the alternative choice question. You can almost picture these questioning methods are like a bit of a funnel. You know, the closer you get to confirming the sale, and the closer you get to locking in the final deal that you have with somebody, the more refined the questions become. And you can imagine at the start of your discussion, you want to be asking lots of closed and open-ended questions just to explore as much as possible. And then as you funnel down, you get someone closer to the point where they would give some level of commitment. Then that would enable you to ask more refined questions and your alternative choice questions and so forth. Next one is listed as throwback questions. So the definition suggests that these questions can take some practice and some skill, and it's exactly the reason why we rehearse these. Like I said, after 17 years, I'm always still on the hunt for techniques that are going to make it a lot easier for me to get my message across, and that's why being on this program, you get to explore, you get to experiment, you go and test it out, see what works and what doesn't. So the throwback question is pretty much answering a question with a question, and make sure that it's the right question to allow your prospect to open up. So what we mean by that is you don't just want to be thrown back a question because you do not want to answer the question. What you're doing is you're really giving an opportunity for the person to open up a little bit more. So if we have a look at the table there on the left-hand side, the prospect's question, if someone says to you, look, is that your best price? Your response could be, and there'd be many different responses for this, but the question could be, look, is price the only factor that will influence you making the decision today? Now, if you have a look at the context of that response, you're not actually asking the person to commit. You're not asking them to sign on the dotted line. All you're doing is you're just exploring and saying, look, is price the only factor that will influence you making a decision today? Because what you'll find is that there might be some people who will want to ask for a discount, for a cheaper price, and some people are just inherently conditioned for that to happen. Someone's got the right to ask, and you've certainly got the right to say no. And there's, like I said, there's several different responses to that. However, you want to, this is where the communication side of it comes in, you want to do your best at keeping that flow of conversation going. And there's certainly a way, if someone says to you, is that your best price, and you turn around and say no, in many ways that can just end the conversation and kill the mood. Next thing, prospect's question, can I get started next month? So this person's saying to you, well, okay, look, I want to get started, however, I'm not quite ready for it, or I need another month before I can commit to this financially. The response and the suggestion I would make on the response would be, if I can get you a spot to start next month, would you like to secure your place now? And pretty much what that response is saying is going, well, yeah, sure, we can start you next month. We can get you enrolled in the boot camp for next month. However, what we need to do is fill out the paperwork now so you can secure your place now. Because there's a chance that if we leave it for another month, that spot might be already taken. Goes back to your sales 101 strategy, which says, your marketing 101 strategy, which says that you need to be creating a demand. You need to be creating a limited offer, a call to action, so people can get themselves prepped for it. There's a big difference between someone saying, look, I'll start in a month, and not signing any paperwork, to the person that is made a commitment to starting in a month's time. Next example I had down here is one more relating to those of you who run group type programs or boot camp type models. So you might have someone there going, look, this looks great, your 7 sessions a week that you run. However, there's a chance I might not be able to make some of these group sessions. And your response to that, rather than feeling pressured to give the person an answer, or alternatively feeling pressured to try and give that person a discount or make a deal, your response could simply be, look, is there something that's holding you back from taking action on your goals that we've already discussed? So we're assuming at that point for you to ask that question back to the person that you've already uncovered that this person's dead set keen about the 20 kilos they want to lose. You've uncovered that this person's dead set keen about taking action, that they really need to make this happen. However, you want to throw it back on them and go, and look, is missing a couple of sessions here or there, is that going to hold you back? Is that really what's going on? Because maybe you need to explore that a bit more. Maybe you need to have a deeper conversation with that person to find out, maybe are they not backing themselves? In their head, can that be an easy out? Can they just be saying, okay, well, look, I don't think I'm going to make a lot of these sessions, and already they've started to convince themselves that it's not going to happen. The next one in the process we call the tie-down question. So, this type of question needs to be done in a skillful way. It really demands a yes response. Alternatively, it also, in many circumstances, is the type of question where the person that responds to it, if you've asked it back to the person, when the prospect responds to it, they can quite often, restate or repeat the information that you pass on. So, if you say something, there's a chance that the prospect might doubt it. And the reason why they might doubt it is that maybe, subconsciously there's a way that they were thinking, well, I actually didn't say that. Or alternatively, that in the worst case scenario, they might be thinking that you're putting words into their mouth. However, if they say something themselves, or they give a yes response to something, there's a good chance that they will more readily believe it's true. And so, it needs to be asked in a way that has the prospect own the statement. So a classic example that I put in here, and this is this could be for the mum who's spent many years looking after the husband, looking after the family, running the house, doing all the stuff, and not focused on herself. Pretty much got no time for herself, been running after everyone else. So, you've been focusing on everyone else for years now. Isn't it time that you did something for yourself? And and when you ask that type of question, you will allow a gap after you've asked the question, so you enable someone to process that. And more often than not, the response that you'll get from that is highly powerful. It will come from, the response will be in a range of somebody really understanding, hey, yeah, look, this is my time, this is my opportunity to go for it. Another example of the tie-down question, looking at these testimonials. So you've sat down with somebody and you've pulled out your folder, or you're flipping through your iPad with your sales process, and you've got some great before and after testimonials on there. Looking at these great results, can you now see yourself losing that 10 kilos by the time you go on holiday? And you want the person to start owning that. You want the person to make a response to that. So when you ask that of somebody, the response can be, yeah, I can really see that. I'm looking forward to this, and I want to be a part of it. So that's what we call the tie-down question. Next one, the question of budget. This one's always fun because it's more often than not, you'll find that speaking about money with people can start to bring up, some of their own stuff, and the more that you delve into it, the more exciting it gets, in my view. So, really, the message we've put across here is that there can be danger in talking price too soon. It could be sales suicide. So, if the price comes up early, then the suggestion is to use some type of throwback question. So, the reason we say is the danger is talking price too soon is that all of a sudden, if we're talking price too soon, there's a chance that, we might be starting to looked on as a commodity. People could start to be making their decision based on price and price alone. So really what we want to do is we want to find out, and that's discussing price up front, giving your prices out up front. Many of you who have worked with us, giving your prices out on your website, on your flyers, over the phone, etc., is a method that we're not a huge fan of, because really at that point in time you haven't really understood what the person's needs are. You haven't sought first to understand them to be understood. So some of the examples of throwback questions. Look, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. But if that's okay with you, what I wanted to focus on was blah, blah, blah. And during that conversation, you could take it right back to the person's goals in terms of what is it that they want to achieve, what's holding them back from doing it, where have they struggled before, etc. Because really what we want to do is we want to remove the price from it. We want to show the people the value in this happening. Next thing, you mentioned before that it was the results that you were after. So at that point in time, you showed them the testimonials, and that the investment in yourself will allow you to get there. And at that point in time, you want to have them agree. And then the question to that, was there something that I missed? So, if you're talking through your process, you're exploring, you're asking as many questions as you can, finding out as much info as you can, and the person goes, look, this all looks good, I just need to get a figure on this. Well, this is where we throw it back. You mentioned before the results that you're after, is that right? And that the investment in yourself will allow you to get there. Would you agree with that? And so the question being, was there something that I missed? You're enabling someone just to bring it up, because again, we want to take the focus back onto the results as opposed to just the money. The last point on budget, I'd say, is most of you, if you haven't set up this type of system already, is that you would have different types of options for people to engage in your services at different price levels. So no doubt you'd have some type of gold level of service, some type of silver, some type of bronze level of service, and possibly a way to capture people at the lowest entry cost possible. be it some type of membership-based site, some type of way that you could write a program, or someone have a monthly check-in or something along those lines with you, possibly even over the phone coaching. So next thing throughout this process is just restating and confirming the answers. So, you always want to seek some sort of formal verification of your deal. You want to make sure that both parties are at an agreement. So this feedback is vital, and it pretty much allows both parties to understand the agreement. And so some people might define this as paraphrasing, or restating, or confirming. So asking people, is that correct? Are we heading in the right direction? Do you feel that this is the right step for you to take? And it might even be you starting to map out how you see it working. So look, the way I see it working is that we get you a trainer 3 times a week. That would happen on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. And if we could wave the magic wand, we'd have you starting at around about 5:30, but you can't start any later than about 6:15, which would get you to work on time. And during those sessions, we're looking at 45-minute sessions, and the goal during those sessions in the first instance is to simply get you moving, to get you comfortable, and we'll be focusing on the nutrition side of it, and you start to make some inroads on losing that first 5 kilos, which we set down as our short-term goal over the first 6 weeks. Is that the way you see it happening as well? Yep, okay, that's great. So really what you're doing at that point in time, you're starting to paint a picture. You're starting to lock in the goals. You're showing people that you really care, that you really understand, and at that point in time, that's when you know that that the relationship between you and the client is definitely heading in the right direction. And this whole concept of understanding is really someone revealing as much as they can to you asking the questions for that to happen, and you listening. You need to listen. You need to be a great listener. Practice those skills so that you can deliver. You can deliver the success to these people that they're searching for. Okay, gang, so what I'm going to do, those of you who are on the call, everyone's still in, I've got you all muted, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unmute, and just apologies in advance to anyone, especially if you're listening to this audio, if we get an echo, but we're going to do our best, and at this point in time, open to questions that will come through, so I'll just slowly unmute people. All right, gang. I'm going to open it up to you now for any questions. If anyone would like to put a question forward or make a statement in relation to any of this. No, I think we're looking pretty good, are we? All good. All good? Excellent. Okay, gang. Well, we've got a little bit of an echo, so at this point in time, just want to say like to acknowledge the fact that you've all taken time out of your busy schedule to be part of this today. My only parting words with these methods would be that you need to go out there and you need to try them. You need to incorporate them into your program and into your regime. And of course, if you if you start to incorporate them and you might find it challenging or you might be struggling, my recommendation would be to continue with it, and of course ask your coach if you're getting stuck. But you'll be amazed at the type of response that you can get just by making some small changes to your process. So once again, thanks very much, gang. Look forward to connecting with you real soon, and I'll speak to you then. Thank you, and bye-bye. See you guys.